Hey guys, Matt Butler here at the Basement Studio. Would you like your home drums to sound like this? And stay tuned to this series. Hey guys, Matt Butler here at the Basement Studio, and we're here to talk about my two favorite things, drinking coffee and recording drums, specifically in a home recording small room environment. And the first place to start is first with your space, maximize the space that you have, the real estate that you have, use as much as you can. It's very important because I see a lot of guys that put them in the smallest corner that they can. They can't even walk to the drum set, and they cover the whole room in really small, thin foam that does nothing for the room except suck all of the high end out and leave you with nothing but horrendous room modes down low and a muddy buildup of the 400 to 600 hertz range that sounds just awful. So first off, maximize your space and invest in good treatment. Treatment that is porous absorbers that's going to actually absorb low frequency and keep some of the actual room in your sound. If you can, you may be constricted to a super small space. If it is what it is, but still, it's only going to benefit you to minimize the thin foam treatment and use the highest quality and level of treatment that you can in your recording environment. Now, I want to start this video with the actual recording process with ambient miking. And to start there, the first thing that we'll talk about is the overheads, because that's typically, in most people's recording environments at home, that's all they can afford. They have like an 8-channel preamp that gets them their close mics and then a stereo pair of overheads. And so that's really the only ambience they're able to capture. And I like to do a spaced pair, which usually gets a bad rap because people never properly do that proper equilateral triangle measurement of it, and they end up with some weird phasing. If you do that right and you space it out right, I feel like you get a better picture of the stereo image, and also utilize the frequencies that you do have and don't high pass filter it a ton. One of my favorite mixing and recording engineers, Chris Lord-Alge, uses his overheads to the fullest capacity. If there's a kick and snare, if there's just a slapping snare in the track or just a thumping kick, he loves to maximize it. In fact, more often than not, if you watch any of his mixing, he will actually emphasize those frequencies in the overheads because it paints an overall picture and brings an overall bigness and power to the sound that you just don't get if you just high pass the mics like crazy and just emphasize those crash frequencies. A lot of people just use them as spot mics for the cymbals, and I just think that's a terrible way to go about it. So if I were you, I would try to maximize your frequencies in the overhead microphones. And let's talk about how I like to actually physically set them up. If you can, whether you're the drummer or you're working with the drummer, see how low you can get your cymbals where you still have adequate enough space from your close mics to minimize cymbal leakage. But at the same token, again, we're having to fight the lesser of evils here. So it's really about finding a balancing point, because you want your overhead mics to be at least, I like at least 18 to 24 inches above wherever those crashes are that I'm going to have them over. And I want to save at least 2 feet as well from the ceiling to reduce weird comb filtering, especially if you don't have good treatment. You can really go down a bad road if you get them too close to the ceiling because you're trying to get that bigger picture of the drum set itself. So it's that balancing act of finding a good level for the cymbals so you can get it 18 to 24 inches up while still having enough room over your overhead mics to ward off any weird comb filtering that you might get. And another important thing, the last thing really, because overhead miking can be very simple and sound great if you just adhere to these simple rules, is make sure whenever you mic if you're setting them over the crashes, because most people on their kits have a crash on each side and then a ride somewhere and then maybe some exit cymbals like we have a splash here below our crash, is make sure you center your microphones over the bell of the rides because if you get out to the leading edge, or if you're having to do a weird miking and you get any sound from the side of the cymbal, you get high frequency oscillations from the cymbal because they're canceling out with the microphone, because high frequencies are very directional, and you get this weird like sound in the microphones, and it will drive you crazy. So please make sure you check. You can have it up from the bell a little bit, but typically anytime I've heard them where people have them like on the back leading edge, especially on the back side where the cymbal's actually oscillating this way, it will wreak havoc in the overhead microphones and make this weird cutting in and out choppy sound that you'll be like, what is that? Well, if you're getting that, it's because you don't have it far enough over the bell, and you're probably too close to the cymbals as well, and you're just picking up a lot of frequency cancellation. So that's pretty much it, how we like to mic the drum overheads here. And next we're going to talk about room mics.